Hey, what's up guys, girls, and the in-between? My name is Northy, and today I have a little commentary for you. Now, first things first, about the gameplay. It's a decent gameplay. I get a few kills. I do this map, another one on Villa. This is a great map. Like, see, I start off with a few kills, but then it gets a little slow. But I had a 13 kill game, and the file got corrupted, so I don't have that for you guys today. So today, I have a little story for you guys. Now, this isn't an ordinary story. This story is a little bit different. This is about 6th grade when I went on a field trip. My first field trip of the 6th grade year. So, this is what happened. So, first of all, I had a crazy teacher named Mr. Bowles. He was something else. This guy was absolutely just outrageously weird. This guy was just a lunatic. So anyway, so we go into the field trip. Well, this is actually before class. So we sit down in class, ready for the field trip, and he comes in and he starts yelling at us about, like, you have to be in control on this trip. I'll turn the bus around if you guys aren't like that. So I was a little intimidated at first before I was going on that trip. So I was a little scared. So anyways, we get on the bus, and we're sitting on the bus. And when I was in 6th grade, I had like a little Go phone. And when we were on the ride, I got a call from some 1-800 number. I didn't know who called me. I don't know why they called me. And, of course, my crazy teacher, what does he do? He freaking runs up to me inside the bus, grabs my phone from my hand when I was turning it off so I wouldn't get called anymore, and literally opens up the side of the bus window and holds it out there for like 20 seconds. I was like, what are you doing? Like, who does that? Just holds a poor child's phone out the window. Like, what type of maniac would do that? It was my first phone. I love that phone. Even though I have an iPhone now, but that's another story. So, anyways. So, we get to the field trip, okay, and it was in San Francisco. I'm from California. So, we get to the field trip in San Francisco, and we're walking on the boulevard, and there's a homeless guy that's walking next to me. So I said, hey, what's up, mister? I was in 6th grade. He seemed like a nice guy. So I was talking to him for maybe like about 45 seconds when my teacher turns around and sees me talking to a homeless guy. Now, that's probably not the greatest idea, but whatever. So the teacher runs up to me, says, runs up to me like he was sprinting at me, yelling, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden he looks at the homeless guy and tackles him. He just tackles a poor homeless guy. Like, who does that? Just runs and tackles a homeless guy. You've got to be absolutely absurd to do something like that. And then he throws him on the ground, zip ties his hands, and says, stay away from my students. And I was like, I was just completely scared. I was a little 12-year-old. I think I was 11 then, maybe 12. I can't remember. It was early in the school year. So the guy zip ties his hand, leaves him on the boulevard. Just some poor homeless guy talking to a kid. And all of a sudden you see some crazy lunatic, some curly-headed guy just come and tackle you and zip tie your hands. I feel bad for him. He probably had to sit there for a half an hour with his hands zip tied from some lunatic teacher. So that isn't all. The next part of the field trip is when we were walking, when we were right outside and waiting. Okay. Now, I got in trouble a few times that day. Now, we were waiting outside and waiting, and there was another class. And some kid in the other class was, like, sitting on this side pole, so I thought I could sit there, too. And then we were all sitting, like, we were just, like, sitting on this pole. And my teacher comes over, and he says, oh, is that the new cool thing, to sit on poles? So he gets the whole class, because we were sitting down, because we waited in line for, like, an hour. So he grabs us all, and he takes us outside right by the bus and has us do wall sits against the bus. Our teacher had us do wall sits. We're 6th grade students at a public school, and he was making us do wall sits? What type of lunatic does that? So we had to do frickin' wall sits. That is just terrible. But that's not even all of it. The next part, this part was absolutely insane. This one really pissed me off. Was when we were in we were at a King Tut museum because we were learning about Egypt in school, and our school got lucky. We won this lottery thing, so we got to go to a King Tut exhibit, which sounds pretty cool. So we go to the King Tut exhibit, and we walk straight in. Okay, hold on one sec. That's much better. So we're walking in, and they have this one little piece. I can't really remember. It was something, but it was some little Egyptian thingy. I don't know. So we're allowed to touch it. So like me, I pick it up and look at it. My teacher looks at me and says, "What in the world are you doing?" I said, "You can touch it." He says, "That doesn't mean you can pick it up." So he grabs my hand, takes me outside to the bus, and has me sit there, and I don't get to go on the rest of the field trip. Luckily, the other teacher got me right after he ran inside and talked to him and said, "You can't do this to the student. He can't sit outside." So I just had to hold his hand the rest of the time, which wasn't the funnest thing to hold his hand the rest of the time, but at least I got to see the thing, because I would have cried outside if I didn't go to, because I was on the verge of tears at that point, because I got in trouble so many times for pointless acts. I was in 6th grade. So this is what happens next. We're in the museum, and our teacher, there was a line going through, and one of the kids in front of us cut us from another class. From another school, and he looks at the kid and he says, "What are you doing? This is not organized." And he starts yelling at this poor kid. This teacher was insane. So he starts yelling at the poor kid. It was absolutely insane. So what happens next? Okay, I remember now. So we're walking out of the museum, and we're at a shop. And the teacher says to a kid, because the teacher apparently didn't bring any money, he says to a kid, "Hey," he was asking a kid who had a $20 bill if he asked the kid if he could buy him something. And the teacher asked a kid if a kid could buy him something. Absolutely absurd. Some people, man. This guy was a loner. But okay, now here comes the funny part of the story. Okay, so on the way back, we stop in these hills at this little farm playland. It's like a fruit park. Oh, shut up, phone. Sorry about that. So it's this little fruit. Shut up, phone. Hold up, one sec. Okay, sorry about that. So we're at this fruit place, and there's swans in the pool, and the teacher's showing all the class. There's a pond. So he's sitting right by the pond, and he's showing everybody how ponds are dangerous and to stay away from it. He was warning us because we might fall in, because there were some rocks that were that a bunch of people were climbing on. He's he doesn't want to fall in. So he stands on one of the rocks, and he slips back, and he falls in the pond. The teacher was decided to stand on a rock, and he slipped back and fell straight into the pond. Oh my gosh, that was probably the best moment of the trip. After everything that happened to me that day, you get to see the teacher fall into the pond. Oh, that was just great. So the rest of the trip was quite fun. We got I ended up going home. I told my parents about the trip, and they got mad. They called the school. And then this teacher was absolutely crazy. You know what? I still have some time. I'm going to tell you one more story about this teacher. Now, this was an absurd act. So this was my first day of school there, because I was a new student halfway through the year, because I moved to California. So I was a new student, and this was on the first day of school. So first of all, he was already talking our ear off the first day about how when I first got in the class, about how being a new student is really scary and stuff, and that you need to treat kids with respect and stuff, whatever. But that's not the important part. So we're going out to the first recess ever. So we get in line, and I grab a basketball. Okay, so I'm holding a basketball in line, and we're walking to recess. So and I bounce my ball, and he looks at me, and he says, "No bouncing the balls." And he yells at me, and I'm on my first day at school, and I was scared. And he's like, "That's your warning." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." And then I was walking, and then a kid from behind me thought it'd be funny to steal the ball from me, and it bounced on the ground, and I was the only one that had the ball in the line, because the kid wanted to hold it behind me. So the ball starts bouncing away, and the teacher sees it, and he literally grabs the basketball, and he just grabs it and punts it, just kicks the ball across the yard. And then he told me if I get it, I'd be sent to the office. On my first day of school there. You know what? One more story. This is a kickball story about my teacher. I don't have much time, but this is a quick one. Okay, so we're playing kickball, okay? And this is what happens. There's a kid running to second base, and the teacher sees him, so he gets the ball, hits the kid in the face, flat in the face, and instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," he yells at the kid, "You're out, son!" Okay, that's all for the day. Talk to you guys later.